That means she'll have an expensive camera she can't work or rig by an artist I've never heard of.
Oh, cynic. Has money spoiled me?
Do you have money, Fairy?
Bags.
Let's not be prejudiced about. Some of my best friends are wealthy. Hannibal, play something on the violin so we can help distract Jeff.
You catch me too. What shall I play?
Surprise us.
How about a gypsy czardas?
Oh, please don't play gypsy music, Hannibal. It frightens me.
Frightens you?
Terrifies me. I was stolen by gypsies when I was a child and rescued just as they were about to dye my skin with walnut juice. Well, I was.
Go ahead, Hannibal.
Oh, I hope she likes music. Maybe she plays an instrument herself. The harp. Oh, I hope she plays the harp all my life. Oh, I'm sorry, Hannibal. Go ahead. I was raised on a harp. My father, like an angel.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Oh, there's a book I want on the shelf. I'm sorry, Hannibal.
Barry, get the book for Jeff so we can listen to Hannibal play.
Wait, I'll get a chair.
Never mind, Fairy. I can get it.
No. Climbing on chairs is women's work. Men have mountains. What book did you want?
The Lifespan of the Ape.
People give the strangest books to this library. I couldn't get into Forbidden Tibet.
Oh, it's amazing what standing above people does. Do you know I feel smarter than anyone in the whole world?
It's the yellow one.
Books are in my blood. My mother invented the filing system in the New York Library. She was queen of cross-index.
I'll get it, Fairy.
No. Musicians shouldn't work.
Careful, Barry, don't get dust in your eyes.
Wouldn't you want animal husbandry? I can reach that.
This time it's got to be the Lifespan of the Ape.
Goose it out with this. Lights! Turn the lights back on!
Don't let me fall!
Please turn the lights back on!
Hannibal, get the switch before someone is hurt.
Looks like Mrs. Patty is back.
Lights!
Mrs. Patty, please, let us keep the lights on.
Some night you're going to turn out the lights at the wrong time and hurt somebody. Then you'll be sorry. I do wish you'd chosen something else to give up for lunch.
Yes, it's unfair to make the rest of us suffer to get you to heaven, Mrs. Patty.
Other people like electricity.
Now you sit at your easel like a good girl and leave the lights alone.
I must say you startled us, Miss Willie. We thought you were in the front office.
For the love of Pete, Mary, what are you up to?
Well, I was just trying to get a book down for Jeffrey.
With a violin bow.
Well, I couldn't quite reach it.
I certainly didn't mean to cause all this commotion. Just forget it.
No, I'll get it for you. Everyone watch his own head. There you are, Jeffrey. You may take the bow, Miss Willie. You may take my hand, Hannibal.
The next time anyone wants a book from the top fairy, call me. Why, the whole shelf might have fallen on you.
Oh, whoever heard of getting hurt by good books?
Enough of them, my darling, and I'd hate that to happen.
I hate everything in the world, but most of all, I hate cold cream, hot dogs, codfish, crawfish, catfish, catnip, sheep dip, sawdust, Subway store skewers, buttermilk caterpillars, fractions, pins, ponds, pins, policemen, and electricity.
Miss Willie, how much longer do we have to wait?
What is she like, Miss Willie?
I haven't seen her. Let's tidy the room a bit. Fairy, will you put the Parcheesi board away, please?
They're taking an awfully long time in the front office.
Is she young or old, Miss Willie?
All I know is that her name is Savage, and she gets the blue room.
Well, I hope she isn't beautiful. Competition exhausts me.
Oh, no. You tried that one in a hurry.
Miss Willie, I wish you wouldn't call me that. It's a nickname my wife uses.
I forgot.
And I wish you wouldn't single me out to kiss.
You're the handsomest.
What would my wife think if she came to call and saw some strange woman kissing me? She'd explode.
What if I know her?
Will you please try to remember?
I'll try. Forgive me. Hello? Yes, Dr. Emmett. Right away. Put the dartboard up, Hannibal. Please don't clutter the place, darlings. Let's make a good first impression.
Will we meet her now?
I don't know.
Oh, we haven't met anyone this exciting since the magician's wife. Remember? She was all nerves from being sawed in half so much. What was her name?
Something hyphenated.
I forget, but she had color. My relations are also drab. Both my parents were albinos.
Really, Barry, you shouldn't invent such things.
Well, they were emotional albinos.
Oh, Barry, don't peek. It's so degrading to get on your knees.
You get on your knees to pray, don't you? I'll say a prayer.
Dear God, let me see something.
See anything?
I do! That was quick!
What do you see?
Someone coming out of Dr. Emmett's office. Oh, 1, 2, 3 strange people. They're coming in here. Let's all hide and eavesdrop.
Is that Ethical Jack?
Well, you know we're going to be sent out anyhow.
We could call it espionage.
Come on, Mrs. Patty, we're going to spy.
I'll guard the light switch. It's rude to let guests enter a dark room.
This is the last time I'll be imparting the peeking fairy. Kneeling simply ruins my nylon.
Oh, I mustn't get excited, or I'll get the hiccups and betray us.
Dr. Emmett will join you in a moment.
Please tell him that if there's nothing more, we'd like to get started back.
Yes, Senator Savage. There's cigarettes and magazines on the table. Please make yourselves at home.
Well, Titus, what do you think of it now? Are you reassured?
Somewhat. It certainly doesn't look like an institution.
Not at all.
Mother will be contented and happy here, I'm sure. It's a charming place.
I just hope he hasn't made a mistake.
Darling, the only mistake we made was in not taking steps sooner.
I don't like to be thought insensitive. It may have been wiser to have kept Mother at home with an attendant.
That would have been disastrous.
You're hard.
Someone has to be practical.
No, you're callous. You've married too many foreigners.
Samuel, darling, we've done what had to be done. Let's not quarrel about it, please.
Lilybell is right. This is civilized behavior.
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I was anxious to have Dr. Johnson question your mother.
This is quite a place you have here, Doctor. It's been a great relief to us to have found it so cheerful.
But then we were assured that your place offered the best that money could buy.
We hope we offer the best that experience can provide.
One thing I meant to ask you, Doctor. Will Mother be exposed to any danger here?
Not at all. The patients in this wing are in their final stages of treatment. They are extremely kind and cooperative. On the surface, they would appear quite as normal as, say, yourself, Senator.
You don't say.
While we're waiting, Senator, I'd like to ask you a few more questions about this memorial fund of your mother's.
Well, there's a little more to tell. She planned on using it to give away the entire Savage estate.
The newspapers called it her happiness fund.
Was this indifference to money something recent?
I wouldn't say so.
She's always given money to foolish causes.
Could you be more specific?
Well, there was an Italian farmer who wanted a box of soil from Italy.
Just dirt.
Mother spent $200 to get it for him.
And there was a flower peddler who wanted a tombstone for his horse.
He got it.
After Father died, this obsession got progressively worse. Last summer, she chartered a ship to send 1,000 school children around the world.
Why?
She said they ought to go around the world while there's still a world
We
around.
stopped her just as she was on the verge of setting up this fund legally.
With a board of directors.
With a fantastic board of directors. Not a banker, a bishop, or a lawyer among them.
Whom did she choose?
A postman, a gardener, a veterinarian, and herself.
We should have known her mind was going the day she decided to go on the stage.
Ugh, that. Have you ever heard of such a case before, Doctor? I mean, really. What would make a woman of her age suddenly decide to become an actress?
The unique is routine here, Senator. Nothing surprises us.
If she had been talented or even vain, I could have understood it.
But she wasn't. She was always quiet, even timid. Then suddenly this amazing change.
Grief did it.
But why turn to acting? Life has enough drama in it.
God knows.
Isn't that right, Doctor?
As Judge Savage says, God knows.
And I wish you could explain that bear to us.
Obvious exhibitionism.
Exactly.
She took a childish delight in being seen everywhere with that teddy bear.
Anything to indulge this sudden love for notoriety.
Her entire conduct was a travesty of dignity and self-respect.
And sound business.
Can you tell me, Senator, has there ever been a similar pattern of behavior in your mother's family?
Frankly, I don't know.
You see, Doctor, she's not actually our mother. Father remarried when we were children.
Oh, I see.
But that has never made any difference in our feeling toward her.
Well, I'm afraid I won't be of much help until I've had time to observe her conduct here.
You're the doctor.
We know she'll be comfortable in such a charming place.
I wouldn't mind staying here myself.
This is no place to laugh, Samuel.
But we encourage laughter here, Senator. We think it's healthy.
You do.
Certainly. For as Byron says, and if I laugh at any mortal thing, 'tis that I may not weep.
Of course, of course.
Yes, Miss Lily.
I beg your pardon, Dr. Emmett, but Dr. Johnson won't be able to complete Mrs. Savage's file for the moment.
Why not?
He finds her a little uncooperative.
Then bring her in here, please.
Yes, doctor.
While you're saying goodbye, I'll have a talk with Dr. Johnson.
Please don't go, doctor.
Please, doctor. I think that the shorter that we make this, the better for all concerned.
She's vindictive.
For some reason, doctor, she holds me responsible.
We'll just have to give her a little more time to get over her resentment.
Will you come in here, Mrs. Savage?
Will you sit down, Mrs. Savage?
We waited to say goodbye to you, Mother.
I do not like thee, Lily Bell. The reason why I cannot tell, but this I know and know full well. I do not like thee, Lily Bell.
She's been saying that over and over all the way down here.
Your children are leaving, Mrs. Savage. Wouldn't you like to say goodbye to them? They would like to say goodbye to you, Mrs. Savage.
The fireflies are out. How lovely. What makes a firefly light up, Doctor? Are they mating?
I really couldn't say.
I thought you'd know. Isn't this a bug house?
This is the Cloisters. This would be your home. I am Dr. Emmett.
Wouldn't it be fascinating if human beings flew like fireflies while they were mating? Do you light up while you're mating, Lily Bell? Lord knows you're fighting.
We might as well go, Titus. She's going to be unpleasant again.
Surely, Mother, you're not going to allow us to depart in an atmosphere of bitterness.
50 needles and 50 pins and 50 dirty Republicans.
She's determined to take the wrong attitude.
It's futile.
Time will take care of this. Come, Savior.
I'll send more of her clothes down later, Doctor. We could unpack but one grip under the circumstances.
Well, Sunday is Visitor's Day, if you care to bring them down then.
My sister is returning to Paris next week, but we'll make arrangements. Good night, Mother.
If there's anything you need, Mrs. Savage, Miss Wilhelmina will take care of it for you.
We have a lovely garden out there. You'll be able to see it in the morning. When I was a child, we always said 30 needles and 30 pins. You've added 20 more dirty Republicans.
It's a fault of mine, exaggeration. It's stupid of me to try to irritate them like this. I just irritate myself. Well, I suppose it has to be exasperating now to be funny later.
I noticed one of its eyes is gone. It must have dropped out in the office. I'll look as soon as I go.
Oh, no, don't bother. I lost it last fall at the opera. I found it, but the usher was so nasty about my lighting matches during the magic fire music. You know what this is, don't you?
Suppose you tell me.
It's a teddy bear. Surely you've seen one before.
Not that big.
Do you know what I do with it?
I couldn't possibly guess.
I sleep with it.
Do you?
Yes, I do, you. Are you going to speak to me as if I were an imbecile too?
Here, here, we mustn't be hostile.
Of course not. You haven't harmed me. Would you care to know why I sleep with it?
If you care to tell me.
I don't care, and I'll tell you. I get lonely. I'm too old to have a lover and too fastidious to sleep with a cat.
Then by all means, you must take it to bed with you here. Would you care to take off your hat?
Well, I suppose I won't need it in here.
It's a mighty saucy hat.
A 10-cent piece of felt and 3 chicken feathers. $85. Why economy should be so expensive, I don't know.
It takes imagination.
And the blood of pirates. Oh, but I wanted it. I wanted a hat like this since I was 16. For all the good it does me now. Well, I guess I won't need it in here. I'm sure you can do something with it. I'm not at all sure what.
Oh, you'd better keep it. You might need it.
Oh, dear, dear, my hair must look like the matted end of a coconut.
Oh, I don't think so. It's a heavenly color.
You should have seen it last year. It was bright red. Then, just to be different, I dyed it black with a white streak in the middle. I looked nothing so much as a skunk. Finally, I just gave up and tinted it blue. It goes with everything.
It'll certainly go with your room. Wouldn't you like to go up and get settled?
Is it time to lock me up?
I wouldn't dream of locking you up. Did you bring a suitcase?
My daughter did. I wasn't consulted.
I'll get it and take you up. There'll be time to explore your surroundings tomorrow. You can wait here.
Alone?
Of course.
No handcuffs.
We have the honor system.
Honor system indeed.
world outside.
Corny, isn't it? Oh, it's alive!
Barry, you shouldn't frighten yourself like that.
The poor thing's quite harmless. It won't bite, it won't bark, shed, or lay eggs. And to the best of my knowledge, it's unvexed by sex. It couldn't be any less trouble. Well, in that case, any friend of yours is a friend of mine.
Perhaps we should introduce ourselves. You must be Mrs. Savage. I'm Florence Williams.
How do you do?
We've been expecting you all afternoon. We're so glad to have you with us. May I introduce Barry May?
Say you love me, but we've just met. Oh, you don't have to mean it. I feel wonderful when people tell me they love me. I'm sure everyone loves you. You see, I told her she wouldn't be spoiled. Welcome to the Cloisters, climate best by government test. Thank you.
And this is Hannibal. And this is our Mrs. Patty.
How do you do, Mrs. Patty?
I hate everything in the world, but most of all, I hate lightning, skunk, cabbage, custard, mustard, spiders, blisters, girdles, mice, bees, keys, ragweed, chloroform, rhubarb, barnacles, bats, broken glass, eels, crumbs, drunks, tombstones, gallstones, salt, and thunder.
Why don't you like rhubarb?
She won't answer you, Mrs. Savage. She will only recite the things she hates.
Sweet, but stubborn.
Mrs. Patty stopped talking about 20 years ago.
Why? She got
Her
mad.
husband told her to shut up.
So she did.
She gave up conversation for life.
But she's only giving up electricity for Lent. You're a woman of wisdom, Mrs. Patty. If there's one thing wiser than saying very little, it's saying nothing at all. Would you like to hold it? She likes you. I like her.
Oh, you haven't met Jeff. Come here, Jeff.
Please excuse my left hand.
Certainly. Is it a toothache?
Jeff's face is scarred and he likes to spare me.
Oh, you don't need to spare me. I have to look at myself every morning.
Dr. Emmett refuses to let me wear a bandage.
Well, we have to humor our doctors once in a while.
And now you've met everyone. We are a very small group in this wing, but we hope you find us comfortable to be with.
But Mrs. Savage hasn't met everyone. She hasn't met the Holy Terror.
Of course, how stupid of me.
Where is he, Florence?
Well, he was just here a few moments ago. John Thomas?
Maybe he went out to the hall.
I'll go check. John Thomas?
You won't hurt her, will you? Gracious, why should I?
You won't object, will you?
Well, what is John Thomas?
Her son, what did you think?
Here?
Oh, yes, he was born here. I can't. Oh, look, there on the chair. My husband warned me I'd be a bad mother. Mrs. Savage? This is my son.
You like children, don't you? Everyone's but my own. How old is he?
5.
Oh, he's big for 5 months.
No, 5 years.
I meant years.
Excuse me, I have to go put him to bed. He has the measles. I do hope you won't catch them. Excuse me.
That was exceedingly kind of you, Mrs. Savage, not to notice anything wrong.
There wasn't enough time to explain, but you're like lightning.
Poor Florence isn't well. We pretend for her sake, and we hope you will too.
Oh, I will.
I think you should understand, Mrs. Savage, that except for Florence, the rest of us are free to leave here anytime we please.
But we don't go, because there's no better place to go.
You're a very lucky woman to be accepted, Mrs. Savage, if I do say so myself, and I do.
Oh, do be quiet.
Tyrant! What is that?
That rude noise is the signal for us to go to our rooms.
The evil of the machine age, perfect pistons and no manners.
Well, ours not the reason why, I suppose. I wonder why no one ever quotes the first line. It's somewhat wonder.
Good night.
No, I didn't hear you. We never say that. It means there's no more.
No more what?
Oh, there's no more of so much.
Don't mind just manners. During the war, his plane was shot down in flames. He hasn't quite recovered yet.
Was his face badly burned?
Not at all. Jeff bailed out, but he was the only one. He lost his whole crew. His scar goes deeper than we can see.
Surely you've guessed by now that Hannibal and I are the only ones here free to leave. But we don't say that in front of the others. We pretend to save their pride. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Patty. I didn't know you were still here. I didn't mean you anyhow. Oh, I could rip my tongue out. Please excuse me if I don't apologize. So sulk.
Fairy has the gift of the good for saying the wrong thing.
I should think it would take a bit of doing to apologize to someone who won't talk but sulks anyhow.
Oh, you'll get used to Mrs. Patty. Just treat her like a clock. Look at her to see how the day goes, but don't expect an answer. She's happy at her easel.
Was she an artist?
I don't know if she's an artist, but she paints.
Portraits.
Seascapes, which is rather odd because she's never seen the ocean.
Oh, I forgot to warn you, Mrs. Savage. Stay awake. If you go to your room, don't sleep. What does she mean about not sleeping?
None of us sleep here.
Where do you sleep?
We don't. Well, we go to our rooms. We've agreed to that in principle, but we stay awake. We never close our eyes. When you sleep, today ends. And when today ends, tomorrow begins. Today we are safe. Tomorrow may be filled with disaster. You won't catch us sleeping. Could anything be simpler?
Not much.
Today is the only certainty.
Hannibal, you heard the buzzer. Why aren't you in your room?
I am in spirit, and everyone says it's the spirit that counts. Remember, fight the night.
Did they all come in to meet you?
Well, there wasn't Mrs. Patty and 4 others who have no business being here at their age.
I quite agree.
Do you think I belong here?
We're understaffed, Mrs. Savage. I'm kept too busy to have any opinions.
I'd like to know what they told you about me.
Was there anything to tell?
Did they mention my memorial fund?
Not to me.
Then they must have said my husband's death affected my reason.
That would be understandable.
But untrue.
Why? Weren't you happy with your husband?
Oh, I loved my husband from the moment I met him until the moment he died. Do you know what that meant?
I think so.
Well, you don't, my dear. It meant that my only aim in life was to make him happy, to want what he wanted, to anticipate what would please him. And it meant all other things I never wanted had to be forgotten.
But surely you had no regrets.
None while he lived. But after he died, I remembered all the foolish things I'd always wanted to do.
What had you always wanted to do?
Things that would have shocked poor Jonathan.
Such as dyeing your hair blue?
That, and studying French, and ballet dancing, and people. As a girl, I was sure I could have been a great actress, so with no responsibilities and time running out, I decided to be one.
But don't you think you've waited too long, Mrs. Savage?
I certainly do. Had I been a fool in my youth, no one would have noticed a difference in my old age.
Oh, I never think of you as old, Mrs. Savage.
Well, having kicked over the traces myself and learning once again the importance of unimportant things, I decided I'd help others have the foolish things they'd always wanted.
How are you going to do that?
By establishing my Jonathan Savage Memorial Fund, a foundation for giving money away in memory of my husband. And that insane idea has brought me here.
Well, you won't find it too unpleasant here. Shall we go up to your room now?
Well, at least I learned one thing from my French lesson.
What's that?
What I am. I'm a more canard. That's a dead duck, I think.
Now, it's not as bad as that.
Yes, it is. Someday you'll realize a great injustice was done me. You'll know that I was always quite sane. But here I am, and here they'll try to keep me, with my few foolish years taken from me. If people would walk around the edge of the carpet once in a while, it would save some wearing out in the middle.
Yes, you could be in the concert field, Hannibal, if you worked at it.
Oh, you're so right, Jeff. Golden fingertips. I simply surrender to it, I'm a rag.
Do come in, Mrs. Savage.
I trust you had a pleasant sleepless night?
Oh, lovely, thank you, not a wink.
You just missed Hannibal's recital.
Oh, I heard it. As a matter of fact, it's what brought me out of my room.
You wouldn't believe it, Mrs. Savage, but Hannibal never picked up a violin until last year.
What makes you think I wouldn't believe it, my dear? Is it something you composed yourself, Hannibal?
Bach, with variations of my own.
Mathematics loss is certainly our game.
No, I don't quite follow that fairy.
Barry knows I used to be a statistician.
Oh, thank you. Now I'm straight.
Give him a fraction to multiply.
I'm afraid I wouldn't know whether he was right or not.
My last position was with the government, charting trends. I was supposed to keep my finger to the pulse of the public and my ear to the ground.
A rather vulnerable position, was it not?
Very! I was fired and replaced by an electric calculator.
I should think you hate electricity, too.
No, but I did want to use my brains to make money. So I spent the next 2 years trying to think of something that could be made for a dime, sold for $1, and was habit forming. I guess my education was wasted.
I'm going to send John Thomas to Princeton. Their boys aren't bright, but they're such gentlemen.
Oh, that reminds me. May we ask you a personal question, Mrs. Savage?
They're the only ones worth asking, my dear. A little girl told us that you used to be an actress. We're simply bursting with curiosity. Is it true?
Oh, well, if being on stage makes you an actress, then I guess it's true.
Miss Willie, the bird Florence mentioned told us that you've been on a New York stage.
I wonder if we've ever seen you, Mrs. Savage.
Not unless you were quick. Actually, I was only in 2 plays. The first was Macbeth.
Oh, I adore Macbeth. All that blood. I sent a pint of my blood to the Red Cross once, but they sent it back.
Well, I should think you would have been a novel departure as Lady Macbeth.
I can't tell you how much I agree with you, but they cast me as a witch.
But you're a perfect witch.
Thank you, dear.
Please speak witch talk for us.
I didn't have any lines. If I did, it would have cost me twice as much.
Why did it cost you anything?
I backed the show. I had to put up the money if I wanted to play even the mute witch. Oh, but we made history. It was the first show that ever closed before the reviews were out.
Was it expensive?
Extremely, but worth it.
What a pity. Weren't you discouraged?
Bitterly. But man is by nature optimistic. If he weren't, he'd eat his young. So I decided I'd write a play and star myself.
You wrote a play?
I did indeed, with the courage born of ignorance and a fly out of wedlock.
What part did you play then?
Naturally the lead. Not Guilty, starring Ethel P. Savage.
What does the P stand for?
I haven't the faintest idea. My neurologist said I needed it in my name for luck. He was right, we ran a year.
What was it about?
Oh, a mother who murdered a man who was defended by a young woman lawyer who turns out to be her own daughter. Oh, I had red hair back then and died in my daughter's arms every night and 2 matinees a week. And just as the curtain came down, the jury whispered, not guilty. Oh, I've never had a better time in my life.
I gather the notices were good this time.
Well, they were sincere, but it didn't matter.
What did they say?
Well, the Times said my play set the theater back 50 years, but that couldn't be possible because I stole the plot from Mad Max, and that's only 40 years old.
Well, wouldn't you think they'd know?
But the Wall Street Journal was wonderful. It said I brought something new to the theater.
Money?
Really, Fairy, money isn't new.
What did Wall Street say?
They said I had a tenacious mediocrity unhampered by taste.
But that wasn't good.
It was perfect. In our ads, we simply said tenacious and unhampered.
And you ran a year?
We'd have been running yet if my daughter hadn't come home and stopped me. Oh, I know I was bad, and audiences only came to laugh at me, but we both had a good time. What more can you ask? Oh, I do miss it. Oh, well, my turn is coming.
I don't think that was very nice of your daughter. No! Don't do it, please! Don't!
Fairy, what's wrong?
Mrs. Savage is gonna read the newspaper!
No! What's the matter?
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Please give it to me, please, Mrs. Savage.
You mustn't read it.
That'll only make you unhappy!
Now, just a moment. I know what the paper's going to say. I've just been waiting for it to happen.
Waiting for what to happen, Mrs. Savage?
Why, what it says in the paper.
But we don't know what it says in the paper.
Then why are you trying to keep me from seeing it?
We have an agreement.
We don't read the newspapers until they're a month old.
We find her much happier when we wait.
What are you waiting for?
Why, naturally we're waiting for... what are we waiting for again, Hannibal?
Perspective.
Peace of mind.
Security.
We believe it's better to read about unpleasant things a month after they've happened.
It's reassuring to know it's over and nothing can be done.
My dear people, there's something in the paper that I'd like to know about. And I'd like to know now, not next month.
We're only trying to help you.
Yeah.
Disaster is easier to digest when it's aged a little.
Well, I've made my bed and I'd like to know who's in it.
We can't prevent Mrs. Savage from reading the newspaper if she insists. We don't know her well enough to be rude.
Florence is right.
Well, if you read anything unpleasant, don't tell us.
No.
This is yesterday's paper. I want today's paper.
It isn't here yet.
When does it come?
I don't know.
Is there a radio here?
Yes, right over there.
Maybe I can catch the news. Why didn't anyone mention there was a radio here?
You didn't ask us.
It doesn't light up. Is anything wrong with the set?
I don't think so. Of course, it hasn't any tubes.
It hasn't any what?
Tubes. Mrs. Petty steals them. She hates electricity, you know.
No one knows where she hides them.
Why didn't anyone mention the set didn't have any tubes?
Well, you didn't ask us that either.
Oh dear, dear, how high is that wall?
Much too high.
Easily 10 chairs
And
high.
I suppose no one ever leaves that great gate open?
Don't look beyond the garden, Mrs. Savage. There may be a better place somewhere, but if you give this up to search for it, you may never find it. And there's what you have.
You'll like it here after a while, Mrs. Savage.
Except in January, the rooms get a little cold.
We like you already.
It's not that I don't find you enchanting, but you...
But we what?
Please don't say anything mean. Oh, don't be still.
We have to go, Mrs. Savage.
But where?
It's garden hour.
We each have a little plot of land we plant things. You can plant anything you like. Vegetables or flowers.
Last year I planted birdseed to see what would come up.
What did come up, Barry?
Nothing. But it was a rich horticultural experience.
In the center, there's a beautiful evergreen. And at Christmas time, they put lights on it saying, Merry Christmas. Keep out.
Come with us, Mrs. Savage. I'll show you my delphiniums.
No, please go without me. I have some serious thinking to do. I'll just stay here.
But the buzzer buzzed. One has to obey orders.
Excuse me, Mrs. Savage. May I ask why you're doing that?
Oh, I believe in wearing out a carpet evenly.
Oh, how prudent. I'm going to help you.
But don't you have to garden?
Oh, this is more constructive.
I'll help too. We've all do our share.
Oh, but I didn't mean to start a procession.
Come, boys. Many feet make light work.
Why not? It's a refreshing change. Most women lead us in circles.
Go ahead, Mrs. Savage. We're right behind you.
But I feel like the Pied Piper.
You step on these, Jeff. Handbook and take buds. Mrs. Savage will take roses, and the rest of us will walk on thorns. Do you know what we're doing, Miss Willie?
Wearing out the carpet evenly.
Oh, someone told you.
Didn't I hear the buzzer ring garden hour?
Oh, I didn't hear it. I think it's broken.
Barry, aren't you ashamed?
Oh, I wish I were dead. I'm afraid this is my fault, Miss Willie.
I don't feel like gardening anyhow.
But you worked so hard with your flowers. Do you want them to die, Florence?
I don't want anything to die.
Oh, that's so true. Florence wouldn't hurt a fly. She catches them and puts them out the window. Flies adore her.
I think we'd all better go out and work in the garden. Barry, share your seats with Mrs. Savage. Run along now. Aren't you going with them, Mrs. Savage?
I wanted to speak to you alone.
All right, what can I do for you?
A great deal, and it may be that I can do a great deal for you.
Are you about to offer me a bride, Mrs. Savage?
How did you guess?
Everyone does at first.
Still, my offer's a little different. I have the money. I'll give you $20,000 to leave that door open tonight. $30,000.
Don't you like us, Mrs. Savage?
That's the most irritating answer to a sound business offer, my dear. $40,000. You could be free of this place.
But I don't want to be free of it.
$50,000. You could go around the world, see Cairo, Mandalay, the South Pacific.
But I've seen Cairo and I've been to Mandalay and the South Pacific.
You have.
I had 4 years as an army nurse.
Still, you could use $50,000.
Now, where would you get $50,000, Mrs. Savage? That's a fortune.
Never mind, I can get it. And in the current idiom, $50,000 is peanuts.
Oh, I believe you, but I'm afraid I have to refuse.
Then you leave me no choice but to burn the place down.
Oh, you wouldn't do that.
Oh, yes, I would.
Too many people here wouldn't know how to save themselves. You think of them first.
If you believe I belong here, then why are you appealing to my reason?
I wasn't. I was appealing to your emotions.
I'll get out of here soon enough. It's just that bribing me would have been a lot cheaper. Now it'll cost me a couple million at least.
Good morning. Is Mrs. Savage downstairs?
She just this minute went out to the garden.
And what is her state of mind this morning?
The usual pattern. She's already offered me a bribe.
What did she offer you?
The highest yet, 50,000. The poor dear.
Did she sound confident?
Definitely manic. She talked as if she still controlled her own affairs.
Apparently she does. Read this. I've just been talking to her children. They're leaving Washington at once, picking up the judge in Boston and the sister in New York. We can expect them by tonight.
This is the most amazing story I've ever read. When did they discover it?
I gathered this morning. They asked me to confine her to her room.
I don't understand it. How could she get away with so much money?
Apparently, her husband left the entire estate to her. She's been secretly selling out control ever since.
$10 million. That's a typographical error, isn't it?
No, they had it all right.
But what could she have done with it?
As her son says, God knows.
Could she have spent it?
I doubt it. Will you call her in here, please? I'd like to tell her what to expect.
Oh, Mrs. Savage, would you come in, please? Dr. Emmett wants to see you. Are you placing her into seclusion?
Of course not. But sometimes I wish there were ways of placing relations in seclusion. They are always much more trouble than the patients.
Do you think she knows what happened to the money?
If she does, she's the only one.
Is there any possibility that there's a method in her madness?
Miss Willie, I find it harder every day to say where reason ends and madness begins. For the moment, I must assume the presumptive evidence of her stepchildren.
Well, from what I've heard, her son's work in Congress would give any good psychiatrist a nasty turn.
It certainly would. And the sensationalism of her daughter's 6 divorces doesn't speak too well for her emotional stability either.
You wanted to see me, Doctor?
Yes, good morning. Miss Willie, will you help out on the switchboards? Miriam has been deluged with calls from newspapers.
Yes, Doctor.
Will you sit down, Mrs. Savage?
I think I know what you're going to tell me.
Do you?
I see you have the morning papers. I wondered how long it would take them to find out.
Then you're aware of what you've done, and the consequences.
Oh, it's too early for consequences. May I see it?
The senator phoned from Washington. We can expect them by tonight.
Indeed we can. Well, I'm not going anyplace.
How could you possibly have spent $10 million?
Who said I spent it?
That paper says you did.
Oh, what do they know? I didn't spend it. I couldn't. I hid it.
You hid it.
In nice $500,000 negotiable bonds that can't be traced.
Why?
I don't ask you what you do with your money, Doctor.
I'm sorry this has happened, Mrs. Savage. I'm afraid your hidden treasure is going to prove quite the disadvantage to you.
That's because you're a doctor, and doctors never know the value of money.
Would you like to know how long it would take me to earn that much money, Mrs. Savage?
Oh, excuse me. I just handed you my violin. Mary may want to hear music while she plants her seeds.
Just a moment, Hannibal. You were a statistician. How long would you say it would take the average doctor to earn $10 million?
Well, he'd have to start before Christ was born, and work right through the burning of Rome, up to the burning of St. Joe. With time out, of course, for the Norman Conquest, the Crusades, the 100 Years' War, the 30 Years' War, and the 7 Years' War. So we'd have to work double time during the discovery of America, penicillin, and bubblegum. But that's not deducting federal tax, state tax, city tax, electric tax, school tax, and amusement tax. So you add 100 years for that.
Thank you, Hannibal. It's a great deal to be responsible for, Mrs. Savage.
What's the doc up to?
A bit of emotional blackmail, I suspect. Hannibal, would you guess to look at me that I'm worth $10 million on the hoop?
Never! The human body only has 20 cents worth of calcium, 10 cents worth of phosphorus, and 20 cents worth of iron. And even at present high prices, no one's worth over $1.50.
So you only value me at $1.50?
Never. You said worth. Your value is inestimable.
I like you, Hannibal. I like you very much. You make me feel important. You make me feel like dancing.
Splendid! What shall I play?
Anything.
Well, I'm very good at the flight of the bumblebee.
Could anything be more appropriate? The bees come home and find the honey gone. Someone is going to be stung. Play, Hannibal. reading? Yes, dear.
Is it interesting?
Very.
Oh, I'm not disturbing you, am I?
Now, whatever makes you think that? What's the matter, Fairy May?
Nothing. It's just that no one has said they love me this livelong day.
Why, yes, they have.
No, they haven't. I've been waiting.
I heard Florence say it at the dinner table.
Did she? Did I?
She said, don't eat too fast, Fairy.
Was that saying she loved me?
Of course. People say it when they say, hurry back, or take an umbrella, it's raining, or watch out, you'll break your neck. There are hundreds of ways of wording it, my dear. You just have to listen for it.
My dentist said I had perfect occlusion. Was that saying he loved me?
What else? Why, the first day I met my husband, I was riding horseback, and he told me I had a good seat. I knew immediately he loved me.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I've been missing so much. Oh, my dentist loves me.
Now, is there anything else I can clear up for you?
No. Sorry for interrupting. Thank you, and forgive me.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
I'm keeping score and the boys won't help. What's 4 and 5 and 7?
49.
But Mrs.
It's
Savage.
my own system, Hannibal. I refuse to submit to the tyranny of mathematics.
Then I win.
I'll keep score after this.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes, dear?
may I interrupt a moment?
Of course.
There is one more thing you can clear up for me. Why is it suddenly Sunday when Sunday was only yesterday?
Why do you think it's Sunday?
Well, if your children are coming to see you, then it must be Sunday, because that's Visitor's Day.
I must have had an awfully good time this week. It isn't Sunday, Fairy. My brood are coming to visit me because they couldn't wait a week.
Well, that should make you happy.
It should, but it doesn't.
Excuse me. You don't like them?
Not at all.
Oh, I think that's a wicked thing to say.
Well, we have to be wicked once in a while to get God's attention. But if it consoles you, Florence, they weren't mine. My husband was left with 3 small children.
Well, you must have liked them when they were little.
Oh, I wanted to make them my own desperately, but they always resented me. Why, the first time I put my arms around Lily Bell, she bit me. And she bit me every day until she was 10.
That must have made you very high-strung.
What stopped her at the exact age of 10?
I suppose a girl begins to consider her teeth.
But the boys are always so much better.
Not always. They'd been spoiled by money, and whenever I tried to correct them, they'd break something I treasured. It was a happy day when they went off to school.
School must have taught them something.
Yes, French. That way, whenever they came home, they spoke nothing but French, so I couldn't understand them, and I haven't understood them since.
Well, you must be proud of him now. The senator, he's quite famous, isn't he?
That he is, make no mistake. I'm told he gets more threatening telegrams than any other man in Congress. I believe the Western Union lists him as a tangible asset.
If he's so unpopular, why do the voters keep sending him back to Washington?
They're no fools. It's the only way to keep him out of the state.
Well, the other son's a judge, isn't he?
That's a distinction.
He's made it one. He's had the distinction of having more decisions reversed than any other man in jurisprudence.
Is the daughter pretty, Mrs. Savage?
Well, there's a picture of her in the paper I can show you.
Oh, don't read us anything from the paper, please.
I won't. I'll just show you her picture.
We don't look at pictures either.
People are always pinned under trucks.
Well, I'll peek first, just to make sure it isn't horrible.
Well, even I don't think it's horrible.
Oh, she's a queen. She's wearing a crown.
A queen.
That's a tiara fairy. It was taken when she was married to her Slavic prince.
Let's take a quick look, Hannibal, just to be polite.
So she's a princess.
No, she discarded him a good 6 husbands ago.
Oh. But why?
He'll have no fury like a woman playing second fiddle.
But she kept the tiara?
Indeed, I suspect she sleeps in it.
I don't know when I've ever seen a prettier tiara.
That dress is cut rather low, isn't it?
I don't like her. Let's do something mean to her.
Very.
I don't mean really mean. Something like putting her picture on the dartboard and throwing darts at it.
Harry! My dear, you're a sweet child. That's exactly what we'll do.
You wouldn't.
I need exercise, my dear.
Very, you're an evil girl to think up such a thing.
Don't talk to me like that. I'm sensitive.
Leave her alone, Florence. I'm the culprit. Now, what can I hang this up with?
Mrs. Patty has some thumbtacks.
Very, I'm so disappointed in you.
Oh, I wish I had died in my cradle.
Mrs. Patty, that's the loveliest seascape I've ever seen. Do you know I can actually smell the ocean? I believe your genius lies in your simplicity. You really challenge the imagination. May I borrow a thumbtack? Thank you.
You're setting an awful example for motherhood.
Don't you like surprises, Florence?
Yes.
Well, I want to surprise Lilybell. Now, target her tonight. I'll tee off. Right in the tiara.
Something dreadful is going to happen. I know.
Everybody to the upstairs study now. Mrs. Savage's visitors are here.
Miss Willie, may I stay? I never get to meet strangers anymore. Please let me.
I'm sorry, Fairy, but the senator insisted on privacy. Hurry now, everybody out.
Someday, when I'm ordered out, I'm just going to leave without saying a word. I have as much pride as anyone.
All the way upstairs now.
How's the weather out there?
Stormy. Here are your visitors, Mrs. Savage.
That will be all. You can wait outside.
I'll leave the latch off and wait at the hall desk.
I don't know what to say to you, Mother. For the life of me, I don't know what to say.
Polite people say good evening.
Deception is so unlike you.
I'm not angry, I'm just hurt.
Have you the faintest idea of the enormity of what you've done? You've sold control of 15 Savage Industries.
We'll have to sell our stock in Savage Brass to buy it back.
Oh, didn't you find out? I sold that one first.
You mustn't get excited. You mustn't get excited. I can lie.
What else? What else did you dispose of?
Everything in my name.
We're ruined. Where is the money? You couldn't have spent it.
Tell us what you did with it, dear.
I converted it into a neat little bundle of negotiable bonds and buried them.
When you say buried, you mean hidden.
I mean buried as in funeral.
In the ground?
I feel physically ill.
Where are they buried?
I forget.
Oh, Lord. Grant my mother a moment of clarity.
Where did you bury them? Concentrate.
Best thing for getting lines out of the face, Lilybell. Oh, I've got to do something about getting you a new eye. Do you know any place that sells bear's eyes, Lilybell?
Give me that stupid thing and answer us! Miss Willie, help!
Lilybell, wait! You're just antagonizing her. We won't get anywhere shouting.
I'm sorry, Mother. Hold your bear. We forget that you're sick.
What we must try to make you understand, Mother. What happened?
She beat me!
Nonsense. Whatever Mother might do, she wouldn't descend to bite.
It was a wasp.
If ever there was a wasp, it's the one we call Mother. I know what I'm bitten. Teeth mark!
There's no need to raise your voice.
Does it hurt?
Of course it hurts!
Lilybell, stop fighting among ourselves now. Stop it. We can't afford it.
You can't afford anything.
We simply refuse to be angry with you, Mother. Lilybell apologized.
I will not.
Lilybell!
Mother, you're biting me. Gnaw and mangle me to the bone, gut me to your heart's content, only tell us what you did with our money!
My money? You've already had your share.
The estate is ours. It's belonged to the Savage family for generations.
8 generations. It's unthinkable that you should be the first savage to be found wanting.
Found wanting what?
The savage pride. Now, I want you to listen carefully to what I have to say. We have never considered ourselves possessors of a great fortune, but custodians of wealth.
No!
Don't do that!
Look! I just asked you to look! She's been throwing darts at my picture!
What of it? That can't possibly hurt you.
It's a vicarious form of murdering someone. It's just the most vicious sort of voodoo magic known to science.
We're losing
We were
ground!
fostered by a werewolf. Every savage son of us.
My patience is exhausted. What did you do with the money?
I told you I buried it.
Where? Unless you tell us at once you're going to a public institution. We'll not tolerate this criminal waste.
You've got me in such a state I can't think. I am to brain in my head anyhow. You've said so time and again.
Not me.
With all this shouting, you've given me a headache. I can't remember a thing.
What do you mean you can't remember a thing? Of course you can.
I can't. My head is
You
pounding.
better be careful, Titus.
Is there anything we can get for you, Mother?
Yes, those powders I used to take.
Where are they?
I'm out of them.
We'll get more.
Will you?
Of course.
Here's the prescription number for my druggist in Boston.
You mean drive all the way back to Boston?
Where is everyone?
Are you ill?
Titus, this is dangerous. We better get those powders and come back in the morning. We won't accomplish anything tonight.
Yes, I agree with you. Get the prescription filled.
Get it filled, Samuel. When we get back, I'm going right to bed.
Are you prepared to tell us what you've done with those bonds in the morning?
Pound, pound, pound.
I'll tell the chauffeur we're ready. What got into him? We'll be back first thing in the morning.
Pound, pound, pound.
Come, Lilybell. I'll have Dr. Emmett give her a sedative.
Lily Bell, psst.
What do you mean by psst?
Close the door. I want to tell you where the bonds are.
Well,
I want to tell you and you alone where I hid them.
why me?
Samuel and Titus are fools. If anything happened to me overnight, the bonds would be lost.
It was Titus who wanted you here, not I. Where did you hide them?
Where would you hide $10 million if you didn't trust banks?
I don't know.
Under a rock?
Of course not.
Under your mattress? Of course, you're never far from your mattress, but if you were and the house burned down,
Are you going to tell me or not?
have you ever been to the Museum of Natural History?
No.
Very informative and fireproof.
Mother, please.
Do you know what's on the 3rd floor?
How could I?
The Department of Ichthyology.
What are you talking about?
Fish. In the last room on the 3rd floor, hanging from 2 wires, is a big, dusty porpoise.
Well,
I stuffed my bonds in that stuffed fish when no one was looking.
I don't believe you.
Name me a safer place.
Only a fool would do such a thing.
That's me.
How could you get a package of bonds inside a porpoise?
Easy, a razor blade and scotch tape.
How do I know you're telling me the truth?
There's a simple way to find out.
You must think I'm very gullible. I have no intention of hunting inside a stuffed fish.
Are we to hold the car all night for you, Lilybell? Samuel is honking.
Let him honk.
Dr. Emmett will see you in a few minutes.
Titus,
Yes.
kiss me goodbye.
You bit Lilybell. I don't trust you.
Well, that's ironical because I trust you. I was just about to tell you where the bonds are.
Surely you know that I never wanted you here. I listened to Lilybell.
Will you get me out of here and let me alone?
You know I will.
Then I'll tell you where they are. They're in a tin box.
Where?
Do you remember when I went with that group to Actors Equity to Washington, D.C.?
No.
Well, I do. It was National Ethel Week. We were having lunch with the First Lady. There was Ethel Merman and Ethel Waters and Ethel Barrymore and Ethel...
What are you talking about?
I buried my bonds in the president's hothouse.
I don't trust you.
Well, you didn't believe Pearl Harbor until you investigated.
Why would you choose such a public place? Everybody in and out.
Well, I'm not very bright now, am I?
I'm the only man not allowed in the White House.
We should agree with him oftener.
How do I know you didn't imagine this?
Well, there's one way to find out. Dig.
Oh no. I'm not going to fall into that trap. You didn't bury the bonds there.
In the corner, under the petunia bed.
Titus, unless you hurry, Samuel is going off without us.
I'm coming! I refuse to believe you.
We listened, we're horrible.
We're quite ashamed.
We all wish we were dead.
We wanted to stop
no secret. If you read the papers, you'd know.
Did you really hide all that money?
I did indeed for my memorial fund.
And now you're giving it back?
You're very generous for your size and weight.
But you didn't tell the judge where his share was.
That prescription was really a note saying to dig underneath the chimney.
But why did you hide it if you were going to tell them where it was?
What makes you think I did?
We hurt you.
Foolish I am, but not that foolish. Whatever is underneath the chimney, or in the president's hothouse, or in that stuffed porpoise, I can assure you it isn't my little bundle of bonds.
Then why did you say they were?
I want to see to what extent they'll make fools of themselves.
Oh, nothing makes the truth seem so shabby as a magnificent lie. How splendid!
How do you know they'll believe you?
They want to believe me,
They might find it degrading to go out digging.
but they will.
How can you be sure?
There are a million things a man won't do for $5, but there aren't 5 things a man won't do for $1 million. They'll dig.